everyone. Top 5 Most Haunted Seaside Ghost Ships. The Kaz II is the first to go at position 5. It is maybe one of the scary contemporary uses of the phrase ghost ship and one of the most deeply terrible unsolved marine mysteries. The 9.8-meter catamaran known as the Kaz II, also known as the Ghost Boat, was discovered floating aimlessly 88 nautical miles off the northeastern coast of Australia on April 20, 2007. The 3 guys on board, who were all natives of Perth in Western Australia, had a combined wealth of sailing expertise. They were brothers Peter and James Tunstead, who were 69 and 63 years old, and Derek Batten, who was 56. The fate of these 3 individuals may never be known, and it is still unknown where they are now. That there were no indications of trouble, no damage to the boat, or even a conflict between the 3 men when the Kaz II was ultimately located by the Coast Guard made it all the more bizarre. They appeared to have just disappeared. The fact that the coffee cups were left out and that all of the life jackets were still stowed away shows that the 3 never felt in danger. Rescue workers uncovered video footage of the 3 guys on a handheld camera, presumably hours before they vanished, in an even stranger turn of events. It depicted them fishing and lounging in the sun with the motor off. But it gave no indication of how these 3 seasoned sailors could have vanished at sea. While an investigation was eventually conducted, no firm findings were ever made, and the Kaz II's final demise is still the subject of only speculative ideas. Number 4 on the list is the Lady Lovibond. Nevertheless, no list would be complete without a traditional sea shanty about betrayed lovers and spectral retribution. The Lady Lovibond, a schooner, is said to have sunk on the Goodwin Sands, right off the southern coast of Kent, on February 13, 1749, according to mythology. Yet, any old sailor worth their salt will tell you that it really has a tendency of reappearing as a ghost ship every 50 or so years. According to the legend, Simon Reed, the ship's captain, had recently wed his wife Annetta and was traveling on a cruise to celebrate the happy event. The Portuguese city of Oporto. Now, it's time to address a long-standing belief among sailors, that, in the old days, it was deadly ill luck to bring a woman on board. In many respects, the Lady Lovibond narrative serves as a sobering example of this. According to the legend, the ship's first mate, John Rivers, was a competitor for the captain's young wife in a jealous passion. He killed the crewman in charge of steering the ship and sailed it into the perilous Goodwin Sands, killing everyone on board. Yet, ever since that terrible day in 1749, the Lady Lovibond has been repeatedly seen with an ethereal, ghostly radiance, seemingly destined to wander the seas forever. If you ask me, it is a glaring overreaction. The Mary Celeste, which is listed at number 3, is the following ship. It is thought to be the most notorious ghost ship in the world. One of the 7 ocean's most persistent mysteries. Constructed in Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia in 1861 and launched in 1868 under the new name Mary Celeste, this commerce brigantine traveled the Atlantic Ocean for many years as a seaworthy, effective ship. The real eerie tradition didn't start until her disastrous journey in 1872. But it has since attracted a variety of beliefs, including subterranean earthquakes, waterspouts, an attack by a huge squad, and even psychic involvement. As everyone on the Mary Celeste vanished without a trace, no one will ever fully know what happened to the ship in the end. Which, let's face it, is a scary idea. On December 5, 1872, the Mary Celeste was found drifting and abandoned close off the shore of the Azores Islands. The Dei Gratia, a Canadian ship, discovered her in a disorganized but seaworthy state, partially under sail, and without a lifeboat. The final entry in the ship's log, made 10 days earlier, gave the last known position of the ship before the enigmatic, notorious events took place. Benjamin S. Briggs, the ship's captain, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 8 seasoned seafarers were all present on board. That begs the issue of what grave danger did Mary Celeste confront to force a seasoned skipper to desert his ship? Everything was precisely as it had been when the team had left it. Nothing had been taken. We might never know, in all likelihood. The Flying Dutchman. Coming in at number 2, of course, this fabled ship, which is cruelly destined to never arrive at the port and spend all of the time navigating the dangerous seas, had to be included on the list. In reality, though, The Flying Dutchman has had such a profound influence on nautical culture that it's simple to forget the perilous story of its genesis. The story of a Dutch man of war that was lost off the Cape of Good Hope is thought to have given rise to the legend of the Flying Dutchman during the heyday of the Dutch East India Trade Company in the 17th century. This mega-corporation controlled the Dutch spice trade between the 16th and the 1700s. Every person on board is said to have died after being torn by a strong storm. In the days that followed, multiple other trading ships reported sighting a spectral, ethereal ship out in the hazy ocean mist flying the same flags as the Dutch vessel. Since then, with sightings continuing throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, the Flying Dutchman has gained renown as the worst portent anyone could ever dream of. A phantom ship that portends the death of an entire crew. In fact, King George V himself may have made the most famous sighting on a 3-year trip in 1881 right off the coast of Australia. In his personal journal, he recorded that 13 individuals had seen the bright Flying Dutchman in the early morning hours. Later that day, the crew member who had initially noticed the ship plummeted from the foremast and, in his account, was crushed to atoms. It's a little concerning, isn't it? The Orang Medan, at number 1, completes the list. And where can we even begin with the strange, puzzling legend of the Orang Medan, which is perhaps one of the most horrifyingly mysterious examples of a haunting shipwreck. Yet, it turns out that the dominant physical theory of the Orang Medan could be much more horrific than it first seems. According to folklore, the American ship Silver Star heard repeated distress cries from the adjacent Dutch merchant ship Orang Medan during the month of June 1947. A Morse code transmission was transmitted by a radio operator on board the stricken ship. It read, "We float in hurried, muddled dots and dashes. In the chartroom and on the bridge, all of the officers are dead, including the captain. Most of the crew are likely dead." Later, after a few more jumbled dots and frenzied dashes, 2 words emerged with great clarity. "I die." Suddenly there was stillness and no further mention of them. Yet, what they saw astonished the Silver Star when they ultimately spotted and boarded the Orang Medan, a ship that seemed to be intact and generally seaworthy. Every single individual on board was discovered dead, lying on their backs, eyes wide open, mouths gaping in terror. Even more terrifyingly, there appeared to be no evidence of injuries or foul play. There were no survivors. A fire started aboard the Orang Medan just as the rescue team was getting ready to pull the ship to a neighboring port. The Orang Medan quickly caught fire, exploded, and then sank. Following this horrific tragedy, suspicions have included everything from the vessel carrying an extremely lethal chemical nerve poison to an involvement with the CIA following the outcome of a covert experiment to an unprovoked attack. Why don't you let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well?